I think we had already kind of talked about this slide, so I'll probably kind of skip over it pretty fast. But just every state has its own bylaws and its own structure, in part because every state's election laws are totally different. So we have to adapt to that. They have different ballot access laws that we have to work around. So you can get in touch with your state party to find out how you can get involved in making sure that your party is recognized as a party and is able to run candidates, especially for local office, where we do a lot of things like we mentioned.
Yeah, there's places like Illinois or New York's about to go into petitioning. Mm-hmm. They've got to collect 45,000 signatures in 42 days.
Oh.
So you've got to double it to survive challenges. So they've got to collect 2,000 signatures a day during a pandemic, and that is a new
right.
law that was passed during the last election cycle by the Democrats. So places like Illinois, New York, Arizona has really egregious ones. We're on in Texas, but if you ever fall off, they're very egregious. But then there's places like I think Colorado is 1,000 registered voters, pretty low bar. In Vermont, in odd numbered years, it only takes 10 local caucus meetings. Right. So if you're in Vermont, get in contact with us, because we just need you and 3 friends to meet in a public place. And if 10 places do it, we get on the ballot. Right.
Nice.
So the range is just astounding. And I said it before, it's intentional. Right. Yes. When you do things like this, when it's a range like this, you need massive amounts of money, which requires then taking money from corporate donors, from major, elite donors. It makes it very hard to organize a national level alternative party, because we have so much we have to bend over, through 50 different hoops, 50 plus, because DC's got their own, and so do our other territories. So yeah, it's part of the repression that we face.
It is, and there's
somebody just said pay to play politics. Oklahoma. You want to be on the presidential ballot? Give us $35,000.
Right. You just have to raise money there in Oklahoma.
Literal pay to play.
Yep. So I've heard Howie talk about this before. Folks that maybe are not aware of this, but like 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 80,000 signatures sometimes are kind of the standards in the U.S. If you want to run for national office in Canada or the UK or something, it's like 10 signatures, 20 signatures to give you like a difference. Like, I think most of the Democratic world doesn't require much more than maybe like 100 signatures for like the biggest office. So like we're talking very intentional laws to suppress us. And while that's
and with the, a unique dynamic that takes place in this too, right now the Democrats just failed to protect voting rights. They couldn't end the filibuster. But while they're rallying around voting rights, Democrats are putting in place some of the most egregious ballot access laws. Illinois has been a strong blue state for a long time. New York's a strong blue state. In Pennsylvania, we got kicked off over a technicality during a pandemic. It was Democrats who kicked us off in Wisconsin in 2020 because Angela moved. Right she moved during petitioning. We asked, what do we do? They gave us contradictory information. Then they lied to us. And when it went to their state Supreme Court, it was a majority Democrat. They told us we couldn't even enter into evidence that they told what they told us. We were just wrong, and it was a vote down partisan lines, and we were gone. So while the Republicans are absolutely engaging in awful attacks on democracy, so are the Democrats. They tend to target parties and large blocks of voters, whereas Republicans try to disenfranchise individuals en masse.
Yeah. In Pennsylvania in 2020, they tried to do the same thing. The Democratic Party sued to knock our entire list of candidates off the ballot, not just the presidential candidate, Howie Hawkins, but also our statewide candidates for like secretary and treasurer and things like that.
They only succeeded in knocking Angela off. And then they said, well, you can't have a ticket without a vice presidential candidate.
Yeah,
and they kicked Howie off, and you all survived. Your down ticket survived, but they couldn't get Howie off. They went to court again to get him off.
Exactly. So thankfully, our down ballot were on the still on the ballot, which allowed us to maintain our legal status. But they kicked Howie and Angela off the ballot, and that was because of one of our forms was faxed into the office because there was a governor's order that said all of the public offices were shut down due to the pandemic. They were not open to the public, and all official business should be done electronically. So we consulted with lawyers, and they said, yeah, it's fine. Send it by a fax. So they did. And then later on, they said, no. The law actually says it has to be ink on paper, handed in person, and you didn't do that. And they interpreted the governor's order to say that didn't apply to election laws. And that was a Democrat majority on the Supreme Court. In Pennsylvania, we elect our judges. And so, like, they literally ran as Democrat judges. So in any case, just to kind of show you, but you know, we're up against these things, but we also know how to organize against them. We know how to do it better next time. And even though there are these challenges, the flip side to it, the positive side to it, is that despite all this suppression, if we can overcome it, that's actually, like, we need to do that anyway in order to build a movement that's going to build power. So I think try not to let it put us down too much. Definitely speak out about how it's unfair and it's undemocratic, but also, you know, let's organize to win.